Operation Chariot, celebrated as one of the most daring, imaginative, and improbable commando raids of the Second World War, recounts the astonishing true story of the British assault on the port of Saint-Nazaire in March 1942, a mission conceived at a moment when Britain was still reeling from defeats and urgently needed a decisive stroke that would both weaken German naval supremacy and boost Allied morale. The strategic target was the Normandy dry dock, the largest dry dock in the world at the time, and the only one on the Atlantic coast capable of accommodating the German battleship Tirpitz, a ship whose potential to cripple Allied supply lines had become an obsession for British strategists. If the Tirpitz ever broke into the Atlantic and suffered damage, Saint-Nazaire was the one place where it could be repaired without returning to waters dominated by the Royal Navy. Disabling this dock would therefore not merely inconvenience the Germans, but fundamentally alter their capacity to deploy their most intimidating warship. With this in mind, British planners, drawing upon the combined ingenuity of the Royal Navy, Combined Operations Headquarters, and the commando units, formulated a bold, almost fantastical plan to send an explosive-packed destroyer, HMS Campbelltown, modified to resemble a German Möwe-class vessel, directly into the dock gates at high speed, while teams of commandos landed nearby to destroy auxiliary facilities such as engine houses, pumping stations, and power systems. From its inception, the operation seemed suicidal, involving a nearly 400-mile journey into a heavily defended estuary, a frontal charge through concentrated coastal artillery, and a high likelihood that most of the raiders would never return. Yet the architects of the mission believed that audacity, deception, and surprise, hallmarks of Britain's emerging commando doctrine, could turn desperation into advantage. The volunteers who joined the raid understood the immense danger, but were driven by a mixture of patriotism, camaraderie, and a shared sense that striking a blow against the German war machine was worth any risk. As the flotilla made its passage across the channel under the cloak of night, the tension aboard the ships was palpable. Men rehearsed their tasks repeatedly, cleaned their weapons with ritual precision, exchanged quiet jokes to hide their fears, and wrote final letters that many suspected might be their last. The closer they drew to the French ghost, the more surreal the undertaking felt. To succeed, they would have to impersonate German patrol boats, navigate through minefields, and withstand the scrutiny of experienced German lookouts, knowing that the smallest mistake could trigger disaster. As the vessels approached the Loire estuary, German flags were hoisted and recognition signals were convincingly imitated, enabling the British to close in far more than anyone had dared to hope. For a brief moment, the deception worked, buying crucial minutes of uncertainty among the German defenders. But as the flotilla entered the final stretch and suspicious searchlights swept across the water, the illusion began to crumble. The defenders, noticing discrepancies and emboldened by the growing unease, opened fire with an overwhelming barrage of artillery, machine guns, and flak cannons. The night sky erupted in violent flashes of light as tracers carved through the darkness, and yet the helmsman aboard the Campbelltown refused to waver. Through thick smoke, flying shrapnel, and the deafening roar of explosions, they accelerated toward the target with unwavering determination. The destroyer, strengthened with additional armor and stripped to reduce weight, plowed relentlessly forward until it slammed into the dock gates at 1:34 a.m. with a force so immense that it embedded itself firmly into the structure, precisely as planned. Inside the hull lay several tons of delayed action explosives, disguised beneath concrete, set to detonate hours later when German officers would likely be inspecting the ship. The commandos immediately disembarked under heavy fire, sprinting across the dockyard with explosives strapped to their backs and Sten guns in hand. Their mission required them to destroy critical components of the dock infrastructure, and despite being vastly outnumbered and exposed, they carried out their tasks with astonishing discipline. Explosions rippled across the port as demolition teams infiltrated machine rooms, power stations, and pumping facilities, planting charges and engaging in fierce close-quarters combat. Meanwhile, the motor launches that had delivered the raiding parties were being torn apart by enemy guns, many catching fire or exploding as they attempted to withdraw. For dozens of commandos, any hope of escape evaporated within minutes, and they found themselves forced to fight through the labyrinthine streets of Saint-Nazaire, engaging German troops in desperate firefights until they were either captured or killed. Yet even under desperate circumstances, their willpower never faltered. The overriding aim of crippling the dock had been achieved, and many fought on solely to buy time for scattered comrades to regroup. At dawn, the port lay shrouded in smoke, debris, and confusion. German forces, though having repelled most of the surviving commandos, remained unaware that the true heart of the mission, the explosives hidden inside Campbelltown, had not yet revealed themselves. Several German officers and technicians boarded the ship, inspecting the strange damage and attempting to understand the British objective. Then, hours after the ramming, at 10:35 a.m., the explosives ignited in a massive detonation, obliterating the dock gates, killing many of the German personnel inspecting the vessel, and unleashing a torrent of water that surged into the dry dock, rendering it completely inoperable for the remainder of the war. Secondary explosions from additional charges in the harbor added to the destruction, leaving the Germans stunned by the scale and precision of the attack. The Tirpitz would never risk operations in the Atlantic ever again, knowing that no repair facility remained within reach, a strategic victory of enormous significance for the Allied war effort. Although the human cost to the raiding force was devastating, of the roughly 600 men who took part, more than half were killed or captured. The mission became a defining example of courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice. It served as a powerful demonstration that a small, determined group, united by purpose and willing to face overwhelming odds, could strike a crippling blow at the very heart of German naval power. In the months and years that followed, Operation Chariot was celebrated as the epitome of commando spirit, earning numerous decorations for valor and inspiring future generations with its blend of meticulous planning, fearless execution, and unmatched heroism. Its legacy endures not only as a strategic triumph, but also as a profound testament to the extraordinary heights that human resolve can reach in moments of exceptional peril. A story retold again and again to remind the world how creativity and audacity can shape history, even when success seems almost impossibly out of reach.